One number. One night. One envelope that decides whether you become a fighter pilot, or spend the rest of your career wondering what you could have been. Every year, hundreds of Air Force pilots finish the most grueling training pipeline in American aviation. They've survived sleepless nights, brutal evaluations, and pressure most people will never understand. They've all proven they can fly. But here's the reality, only a fraction of them will ever touch a fighter jet. Because the Air Force doesn't hand out F-16s and F-22s based on who wants them most. It's not about passion. It's not even about being good. It's about being the best when it matters, in ways most people never see coming. By the end of this, you'll understand exactly how the Air Force makes this decision. You'll see why some of the most talented pilots in the world end up flying tankers or transports instead of fighters. And you'll learn about the single moment that changes everything. A night that decides the rest of their careers. Let's start with the obvious question. Why does everyone want fighters? It's not hard to understand the appeal. Fighter pilots are the face of American airpower. They're the ones in the recruitment videos, pulling 9Gs in a high-speed turn, launching from carriers, protecting entire battle groups from threats most people will never know existed. But it's more than just the adrenaline. Flying fighters means operating at the edge of what's physically possible. It means being trusted with some of the most advanced machines ever built. It means your decisions in a split second can change the outcome of a mission, or a war. And because of that, the Air Force is extremely selective about who gets to do it. Here's the part most people don't realize, wanting it isn't enough. Being talented isn't enough. Even being at the top of your class doesn't guarantee anything. Because the Air Force isn't just looking for great pilots. They're looking for pilots who can handle the specific demands of fighter aviation under the most extreme conditions imaginable. And that filtering process starts long before anyone sits in a cockpit. The ranking system, where it all begins. The journey to fighters officially begins in Undergraduate Pilot Training, UPT. This is where the Air Force takes brand new officers and teaches them how to fly military aircraft. It lasts about a year, and from day one, every single thing you do is being evaluated. Your flights are graded. Your briefs are graded. Your ability to stay calm under pressure is graded. The way you talk on the radio, the way you recover from mistakes, the way you handle an emergency at 300 feet, it all goes into your ranking. And that ranking is everything. At the end of training, every student pilot is placed on a list. The Air Force calls it the Order of Merit. It's a cold, numerical hierarchy. Number 1 at the top. Everyone else stacked below. And when it comes time to assign aircraft, the Air Force starts at the top and works its way down. If you're ranked first in your class, you get first pick of whatever's available. If you're ranked last, you get whatever's left. It's that simple. And that brutal. But here's where it gets complicated. Performance under pressure, what really separates pilots. You might think the best pilots are the ones who fly the smoothest or make the fewest mistakes. But that's not how the Air Force sees it. The ranking isn't just about technical skill. It's about how you perform when everything is going wrong. Instructors are watching to see what happens when you're behind the aircraft, when you're task saturated, when the radios are screaming at you, when the weather's closing in and you've got 10 seconds to make a decision that could save your life or end it. Do you freeze? Do you panic? Or do you compartmentalize, prioritize, and execute? That ability to stay sharp under chaos is what separates fighter pilots from everyone else. Because in a fighter, there's no co-pilot. There's no time to think things through. You're alone, moving at supersonic speeds, often in hostile airspace, and the margin for error is zero. So the Air Force watches how you handle stress. They watch how you brief a mission, how you debrief your mistakes, how you respond to criticism. They watch whether you blame others or take ownership. They watch whether you improve after a bad flight or spiral into self-doubt. And all of that gets factored into your ranking. But even if you do everything right, even if you finish at the top of your class, there's still no guarantee you'll get a fighter. Because the next factor is completely out of your control. Aircraft availability. The variable no one can predict. Here's the uncomfortable truth: the number of fighter slots available on your assignment night has almost nothing to do with you. It's about timing. And luck. The Air Force assigns aircraft based on what the operational squadrons need at that exact moment. If fighter squadrons are fully staffed, there might only be 2 or 3 fighter slots available for your entire class. If the Air Force is expanding or replacing pilots, there could be 10. You could be the top-ranked pilot in your class, but if there are only 2 fighter slots and you're number 3, you're not getting one. Meanwhile, a pilot ranked 10th in another class might get a fighter simply because their assignment night had more slots available. It's not fair. But it's reality. And this is where the pressure really builds. Because by this point, you've spent a year fighting for a ranking you can control, only to realize the final outcome depends on something you can't. But the Air Force doesn't see this as unfair. They see it as a reflection of the real operational world, where timing, luck, and circumstances beyond your control are just part of the job. Still, that doesn't make it any easier when the night finally comes. What happens to the pilots who don't get fighters? Let's be clear about something: not getting a fighter doesn't mean you failed. It doesn't mean you're not a great pilot. The Air Force needs more than just fighters. It needs tankers to refuel them. It needs transports to move troops and supplies. It needs bombers, reconnaissance aircraft, and special operations platforms. Every single one of those missions is critical. But that doesn't change the sting. For pilots who grew up dreaming of fighters, who pushed themselves to the limit, who did everything right, being told you're flying a C-17 instead of an F-16 feels like losing. Even if the C-17 is an incredible aircraft. Even if you know your mission matters. Because in that moment, it's not just about the aircraft. It's about the dream you've been chasing for years suddenly being handed to someone else. And that brings us to the moment that defines everything. Drop night, the moment everything changes. It's called drop night, or assignment night, depending on the base. But the feeling is the same everywhere. The entire class gathers in one room. Families are there. Friends. Instructors. The atmosphere is electric, a mix of excitement and dread because everyone knows that in a few minutes, some dreams will come true and others will quietly die. Each pilot is called up, one by one. They're handed an envelope. Inside is a single piece of paper with their aircraft assignment. Some pilots open it and erupt. Fists in the air. Pure joy. Their name is now attached to an F-15, an F-16, an A-10. They've made it. Others open it and pause. They smile, but it's forced. They got something good, maybe a C-130, maybe a B-1, but it's not what they wanted. And everyone in the room can see it. And then there are the ones who don't react at all. They just stare at the paper, trying to process what it means. Trying to figure out how to feel about the fact that the last year of their life led to this moment, and it's not what they imagined. The room is loud, but if you pay attention, you'll notice the silence too. The quiet conversations. The congratulations that sound a little hollow. The realization that for some, this is the end of one dream and the beginning of a different life. And here's the thing, that moment is permanent. Once that paper is in your hand, it's done. There's no appeal. No second chance. The Air Force has decided, and now you live with it. So how does the Air Force decide who gets fighter jets? It decides based on performance when the pressure is suffocating. It decides based on timing and availability. It decides based on a ranking system that rewards consistency, composure, and the ability to stay sharp when everything around you is falling apart. But most of all, it decides based on reality. The reality that the Air Force doesn't exist to fulfill dreams. It exists to win wars. And that means putting the right pilot in the right aircraft, regardless of what anyone wanted. Fighters aren't the only measure of success. But they are a measure of something. Of who can handle the weight. Of who can be trusted alone in the sky with a machine that costs $80 million and carries weapons that can change the course of a battle. And that's why the selection process is so brutal. Because when you're defending American airspace, when you're providing close air support for troops under fire, when you're intercepting a threat that could kill thousands, there's no room for second place. This isn't just about jets. It's about how the U.S. Air Force decides who carries the most pressure in the sky.